Well, good morning, everybody. This is Mike Moore. I'm the chairman of the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners, and I want to welcome everybody for joining us on this call today. Like so many of you, I've been a small business owner. I continue to be a small business owner, and these are definitely challenging times for all of us. We wanted to make sure that there are resources out there that you know about, and many are becoming more available on a daily basis, especially on the state and federal levels. So basically, that's what we're here to talk about today and make sure that you have, each and every one of you have the resources that you need. I want to thank Bill Cronin. He's on the line today with us. He's the CEO of the Pasco Economic Development Council. And I also want to thank Ms. Eileen Rodriguez of the Small Business Development Center at USF. So between the two of them, there's a wealth of knowledge. They're going to be able to answer a lot of your questions, give you tons of information that'll help us get through this. So with that, I'd like now to turn everything over to Mike Bishop of the Pasco Economic Development Council, and he's going to help lead the call. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Moore. The only comment I'll make is that the Q&A is open. So you'll see those of you that joined via webinar and video that see the screen, you can go into the QA and enter in your questions. We'll gather all those questions and we'll try and address as many as we can at the end. In addition, this will be recorded and provided to all that attended and can be shared as well. So with that, I will hand it off to Bill Cronin.
Good morning, everybody. Some difficult times that we're all going through right now, and we're all looking for resources. I'm happy to say that both the federal government and the state have several different programs for businesses, and we have some locally. We're going to touch on quite a few today, and my partner over at the SBDC at USF administers quite a few of these, so you'll be hearing from her. But I want to touch on one that is getting a lot of news headlines lately, and that's the CARES Act that was just passed. And CARES stands for the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act that Congress and the President just signed this past Friday. It's intended to assist small business owners in whatever needs that they have right now. So once it's implemented, there's going to be lots of different resources for small business, as well as some nonprofits and also some other types of employers. The most popular program that I think most of you are going to be interested in is one called the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, and some banks are even already calling it program because they feel that it's going to be so popular in the products that they offer. The PPP, or the Paycheck Protection Program, is designed for companies and small businesses that employ 500 employees or fewer. And if your business is an industry that has more than 500 employees, check with the SBA, because there are some different types of industries that standard can be extended. But for the most part, as you might know, SBA's definition of a small business, believe it or not, is 500 or less employees. Now, in addition to that, if you're a restaurant or a hotel or a business that falls under the North American Industry Classification Code 72, which is accommodations and food services, and each of your locations has less than 500 employees, you're also eligible. So that's something new for a lot of our businesses that are hurting badly right now in terms of restaurant and accommodations because of the service industries here in Florida. Tribal businesses, 501c3s, nonprofits, or 501c19s, which are veterans organizations, and also including some religious organizations, are eligible for the program. And any of those nonprofits just has to meet the SBA standard for nonprofits. Some franchises are also eligible with 500 or less employees, and eligible franchises can be found through the SBA's franchise directory. Now, probably the most exciting piece of this for us in Florida, and a lot of people on this call, is that sole proprietors, independent contractors, gig economy workers, and self-employed individuals are all eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program. And in a service industry like Florida, we have a lot of what we refer to often as 1099 employees. that will be eligible for this program as well too. Now the program is a loan program, but I don't want that to turn anyone off, because you'll be excited to know that there are definitely provisions that allow forgiveness of that loan. So so don't just assume it's a loan that that you want to forego it. Listen to these details, because it's something that if you're able to maintain those employees, you'll have forgiveness in the loan. So you can borrow up to 250% of your average monthly payroll expenses, up to a total of $10 million. And that amount is intended to cover 8 weeks of payroll expenses and any additional amounts for making payments towards debt obligations. Now that 8-week period can be applied to any time frame starting as early as February 15th of this year through June 30th of this year. Now the money that's forgivable, and I'm sure this is going to be a question that we'll continue to have, is how can I use it so that my loan is forgivable? So the amount of the principal that can be forgiven is equal to the sum of expenses for payroll and existing interest payments on mortgages, rents, lease, utility service agreements. The payroll cost, what they consider payroll, includes your employee salaries up to the annual pay of $100,000. So if you have employees making over $100,000, you would not be able to use it for their entire salary of above $100,000. Hourly wages and cash tips, though, can also be included, and paid sick leave and medical leave and group insurance premiums. All the things that as an employer you usually offer to employees can also be included. Now, if at the end of that 8-week period, after you take out the loan, if you verify the expenses with SBA and you manage to keep those employees on during that whole time, and you didn't decrease at all during that period, you're able to get the loan forgiven. Now, if you use that money for other things other than payroll expenses or those that I listed, you can use it, but it just, that part will not be forgiven. Now, this is very similar to the SBA's 7A program, and it's going to require your business to work with your existing bank and confirm that they are a preferred SBA lender. And I know a lot of the banks have been putting out information already to say, hey, sign up to get in line, get in queue, because they're all anticipating a pretty long line on this. So I would highly encourage you, if you're interested, to talk to your banker, make an appointment. Starting April 3rd, small businesses and sole proprietors can apply. And then starting on April 10th, independent contractors and self-employed individuals can apply. So that's just in 2 days. So I would say make that appointment as soon as possible with your banker. And the first thing is, again, confirm that they are in fact a SBA preferred lender. If they are not, they may be willing to make a referral, or you can look at the SBA's website to find a lender in your area. So that's probably the most important program that we'll be seeing from the federal government that will be coming out. Some other ones at the state level. So I mentioned SBDC. SBDC works on the SBA programs and works also with some of our state programs. DEO, the Department of Economic Opportunity, also offers some direct programs, one of which is called the Short-Term Compensation Program. And that's to help employers retain their workforce in times of temporary shutdown by encouraging them to share their time instead of laying off. So if you've got a lot of employees and you're going to have to lay off some, instead of laying off some, cut back their hours instead, and you can get some assistance from DEO. So the program allows for prorated and reemployment assistance benefits to those employees whose works and earnings are part of that short-term compensation plan. And again, it's to avoid the total layoff of some of the employees. It also, in the unfortunate situation, if you do have to lay off some people and you know it's coming, you can use the short-term compensation program as a way to stage that out a little longer, where you can keep people for a few more weeks, reduce their hours, but give them heads up that this is coming, and gives them a little bit better landing situation so that they can start looking for other opportunities. It's a very creative program. Again, that one is handled by the Department of Economic Opportunities up in Tallahassee, and they've actually added a call center for a lot of these programs because the demand is so high right now. So I'm going to stop there because those are two really big programs, but I'm excited about some of the programs that Eileen is going to share with us that have been highly successful and have been working here for a couple weeks already, and she can share some experience.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. This is Eileen Rodriguez. I am the Regional Director for the Florida SBDC at USF. And I would like to talk a little bit about specifically the state program and give a little bit more information again on some of the federal programs. So just so that you know, the Florida SBDC network across the entire state is a facilitator for the Department of Economic Opportunities Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program. So what that means is that we help small business owners who are currently navigating the loan process. And while we don't actually make decisions on which loans get approved or denied, we do work with the independent EBL or Emergency Bridge Loan Committee that makes those decisions. So just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the team at the SBDC, our entire team, is really working as fast as we can to process all of the inquiries and applications that have come in. And as you can possibly imagine, we've had thousands and thousands of applications and inquiries. And so right now we're probably hovering around 4,000. So just to give you a sense for the type of volume that we're looking at. I also want to say that changes occur daily, and I might even add hourly. So what I was saying right this minute could possibly change in an hour, 2 hours, this afternoon, tomorrow. So what you want to do is really check all of the official websites for up-to-the-minute information, because this particular pandemic has really, I think, taken a lot of people by surprise. The scope and magnitude of it is so much more than just our normal disasters, which, you know, we're used to the hurricanes. And if those of you that remember Hurricane Irma, we had the program with Hurricane Irma as well, the Emergency Bridge Loan Program. This is a completely different animal. It's just so huge. So just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that you really need to keep an eye on the official websites. So what I want to do is talk first about the Florida Bridge Loan, Emergency Bridge Loan Program. We'll start with that. The Bridge Loan Program was activated on Monday, March the 16th by the governor's office. They released $50 million for that program, and small businesses can qualify for up to $50,000 in most cases. These are interest-free short-term loans, and by short-term, I mean 12 months. So let's say you would be awarded a loan today, you have 12 months to pay it off. It's interest-free for those 12 months. At 12 months plus 1 day, if that loan is not paid off, you will have to start paying interest, and that interest will be retroactive back to day one. What I want to make sure you understand is that this loan does not convert into a long-term loan at that point. It's still a short-term loan, and for all intents and purposes, you will be in default of your loan on that 366th day. So please don't assume that you can kind of keep going with this particular loan. That's not the purpose of this loan. In order to apply for this loan, you can apply directly online at floridajobs.org, floridajobs.org. That is the Department of Economic Opportunities website. They are taking applications directly through their portal. Now, some of you on the line might be thinking, oh, but that's not how I submitted my application. And that is correct. For the first week that the loan program was in effect, that portal was not active. And so many of you either emailed it, either to the state office, the Florida SBDC state office of Pensacola, or you mailed it up to Pensacola, or you faxed it up to Pensacola. Some of you also have emailed it directly to us in Tampa, or you have sent it by U.S. Postal Service or FedEx to our Tampa office or Pensacola. So as you can see, there were many different ways of applying for the week of March the 16th. Week of March the 23rd, that's when the portal became available, and now all applications have gone through there. Please rest assured that we have all of your applications. We are asking all of our folks, all of our clients to please not call and check on the status because we have over 4,000, and it just takes time for us to go searching and say, yes, this is where it's at. Please be assured we do have it, we're working on it, and the more time we spend actually processing the loans, the faster we can get to you. Just to kind of cover some of the main criteria for who's eligible for the state program. You have to maintain a place of business in the state of Florida, and you have to have been in business since at least March the 8th of this year. The other item is, and this is a main deal, you have to have 2 to 100 employees on the payroll, and that includes 1099. So if you are self-employed and you are the only individual in the business, then obviously this program is not for you. You have to have 2 to 100, and they have to be on the payroll. You have to show payroll documents to the committees in order for them to consider you eligible. So those are pretty important items for this particular program. I will say that a lot of the questions that we get are, you know, I want to do the short-term loan. I also want to do the long-term SBA loan. Can I do both? And the answer is, of course you can. In fact, we encourage you to do so. And I'll be talking a little bit about the economic injury disaster loan in a minute. But that loan is great because if you get the long-term SBA federal loan, then you can use that money to pay off your short-term Florida loan. So the Florida loan is meant to be a quick fix. It's not a lot of money. It's $50,000, but it'll at least give you an injection of cash in order to kind of get your business, continue to up and run and pay your folks and do whatever it is that you need to do with that money in order to keep your business open. And in the meantime, while that's happening, you should be securing a long-term loan in order to kind of secure the future of the business as well. So just kind of wanted to make that, that delineation. Let me go ahead and, I do want to tell you that you can also check our website because we keep our website as up to date as possible. We're making changes to it numerous times a day. And our website is sbdctampabay.com/coronavirus. So that's our landing page. Again, that's sbdctampabay.com/coronavirus. So you can go ahead and check us out online there as well. Let me talk a little bit about SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That particular program came into effect a week after the state program did. In this case, small businesses can qualify for up to $2 million. So again, a much larger loan compared to the state of Florida loan. Yes, you can have just one employee, so self-employed people are eligible for this particular loan. These loans are not interest-free. The interest rates are 3.75% for for-profit companies and 2.75% for non-profit companies. So if there are any nonprofits in the audience, or if you know of any nonprofits, this particular loan is available to them. This is pretty much considered a working capital loan, again, to help with payroll, with fixed debt, accounts payables, any other bills. So just understand that that's the purpose of that particular loan. And this loan is good because you don't have to go through a bank to apply for it. This loan is directly with the SBA. So again, we're talking about a lot of different programs. Bill started the conversation talking about the PPP. This is different. So this is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, also an SBA product. This one, as I said before, does not go through a bank. You have to apply directly to SBA's Disaster Assistance Program, and their website is disasterloan.sba.gov. Again, that's disasterloan.sba.gov. And I will type in all of these websites into the chat box as soon as I'm done giving you this information so that you can look it up there and hopefully copy and paste it. So ineligible businesses for this particular loan are agricultural enterprises, religious enterprises, charitable organizations, and gambling concerns. So again, it depends on who's on hand for this particular conference, but that's just to give you an idea. For the most part, most businesses are eligible for this program. I want to just really quickly give you an update, though, on the PPP program that Bill was talking about earlier. All federally insured depository institutions, including federally insured credit unions and the Farm Credit System institutions, are eligible to participate in the PPP program. So basically, every bank that's out there that is FDIC insured should be able to assist you with the PPP loan. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that. So again, 3 different programs, 3 different avenues. One, you have to apply through the state for the state program. The EIDL or EIDL is through the SBA's specific portal online. And then the PPP is where you go to your bank and talk to them and have them help you with the process. And again, that's not going to start till Friday, as Bill mentioned. So if you go to the bank today, they might not be ready for you. So just please, we appreciate your patience and your consideration while everybody's trying to move as quickly as possible to help all the small businesses that have been affected, which, you know, frankly, has been pretty much everybody in the state of Florida and, of course, across the nation. So I think with that, I'll turn it back over to Chairman Moore or whoever's next.
I think we'll go back to Bill, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Bill will jump in, and thanks again, Eileen. And as you can tell for our listeners and viewers, we all work together very well in partnership and try to mitigate any gaps that are out there, because it is confusing, even for us as practitioners, between state, federal, and local programs. So I can't imagine what it's like sometimes as business people trying to navigate all of these different resources in a time where it's challenging enough as it is because of other external pressures. Some of the other things that we're doing, and Eileen mentioned the SBDC's website. I do want to also mention the Pasco EDC's website that's dedicated to the COVID-19 resources. And you can go to pascoedc.com/COVID-19. And we'll put that out in the chat feature as well, so you can see it. But you'll find almost all of these resources that we've mentioned, as well as links to the programs and FAQs are included there. So don't worry if you don't get to all of your questions today, or you've got other questions, or you just didn't catch that website. If you get one of our main websites between the two of us, you'll find a lot of these programs right at your fingertips, and a lot of them are complementary to each other. Now, some of the other things that we're doing to work with our companies here have to do with your capabilities, especially in those of you that are in manufacturing, understanding what your needs are, where you're at in this process, and are you able to continue operating right now under the current situation. So we have a group that's actually calling our manufacturers through the county, as well as a survey that's going out. And I would encourage all of you to participate in these. Most of them are very conscientious about your time. They're not going to be 40, 50 question surveys because we know you're busy, but they're really about, are you open? Are you making things? Can you make other things? Those are the types of questions that we have. And here's the reason why. Some of you may have noticed, I think it was a week before last, when we started this discussion about DPA, or the Defense Production Act. The Defense Production Act, it feels a little bit like World War II, when you saw Ford Motor Company manufacturing tanks instead of cars during a time of need. Well, the DPA, or the Defense Production Act, does exactly that. It allows for the president the authority to determine if there are commodities that he wants to dedicate resources here in the United States to manufacture those here at home for security reasons. And as you can imagine, right now, those would include things like test kits and N95 masks, which are the two items that the president has enacted the DPA thus far. So for us as the local EDC, when we call in our survey and our calls, we're going to be talking about things, can you supply a piece of that? If we find somebody with the machinery, are you able to produce these types of items that are needed in the supply chain? It's really important for us to understand your supply chain capabilities, because, for example, a conveyor belt company may not seem like an essential, life essential type of business to a lot of people. But if you've got a bleach company that is manufacturing and looking to expand and wants to add another conveyor line, well, then now the conveyor company is essential, because the bleach company needs it to be able to expand and produce more bleach. So those are the types of questions that we'll be asking you if we haven't already. And I mentioned essential business. It's another thing that you're starting to hear a lot of. Many of our companies have employees that perhaps live in Pinellas or Hillsborough County, where you hear things like a safer at home or stay at home order, with the exception of essential business. And essential business for most of the United States is defined per the Homeland Security's Homeland Security page on essential business. And you can find that on our website as well. But as you can imagine, it's things like transportation, infrastructure, life sciences, things that we can't live without during this time, HVAC. There's a full list of those different types of businesses that are out there. If you are in that business here in Pasco, first of all, let me remind everybody, Pasco does not have such an order. We are not under any type of safer at home or stay at home order. We ask people to be considerate and responsible and try to stay at home with the exception of going to the store and things like that. And if you're manufacturing, or if you're a company that can't do business remotely and you're able to continue doing business, you're not a restaurant, restaurants, of course, for takeout and delivery can continue to operate, but you're not relying on groups of people to come to your place. A lot of those places are still open. And we've talked to a lot of companies that are still humming along, and they're still manufacturing. They haven't had to lay anyone off. And we're really proud of that resiliency. Now, if your employees, though, are from one of those other counties, it's important that they understand they do work for an essential business, and that they inform others in case anyone ever asks them. But at this point in time, those orders don't exist here. If you're in another county that has those orders, I would say take a look at that website that lists the essential businesses that are out there. We don't anticipate any type of stoppage there. Now, while we're calling companies to do that capabilities analysis and assessment, we're also referring suppliers over to first our Pasco Emergency Management Group, who's working with our local Department of Health to take care of those immediate needs. And again, there are things like ventilators and masks and test kits. Those are things that are needed immediately, sanitizer, wipes. And then the next in priority is our large hospitals. And as you can imagine, they serve lots and lots and lots of people. It's important that we continue to serve them. And then after that, we like our companies to connect with the Florida Emergency Supplier Network. And the Supplier Network link is also on our webpage. We'll post it online in the group chat and the webinar chat. But that matches those that are supplying with those local governments that are buying through either their emergency management systems or through the state to get those resources where they're needed most. We can do additional matching beyond that, but for the bulk of the need, we find that those three categories are where we're best suited to match. I'll also mention on this call, if you are a small business and you're looking to manufacture into one of these product lines and you need some help perhaps purchasing machinery to do that, we have a microloan program at the Pasco EDC that is between $35,000 and $50,000 that can be used for our Pasco businesses that are looking to respond to rapid growth. And this would be a good example of rapid growth. If you're interested in that, definitely contact us and we'll put you through our microloan process in hopes that we can get that expansion done very quickly. So those are some of the resources that are beyond just financial resources. And if you're interested in growing your business or actually pursuing some of these new opportunities that are coming out, whether they're in the life sciences area or they might even be in cyber now that we've all gone virtual, please do give us a call so we can help you either start that business or grow that business. Pasco's not closed for business, and these resources are still there for all of you.
Thanks, Bill. And I just want to, this is Mike Moore again. I just want to reiterate what Bill was talking about when it comes to taking the surveys. And, you know, as elected officials, whether we're on the local level, state level, or federal level, you know, we're all seeking information from our business community. So it's very important, if you have a few minutes, to take the time to complete the surveys as you receive them. There's the state's Business Damage Assessment Survey, which is managed by the DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity. The Pasco EDC, which you mentioned, they have the survey on business capabilities. And there's also one that Pasco County Tourism put out in reference to an economic impact survey. So if you don't have the links to those, well, obviously we can make sure you get them. If anybody has a question on that, they can put it in the chat, and I'm sure Mike Bishop can put the links to them. There's resources there. In addition, I'm sure everybody knows this. I won't get into the weeds too much, but again, if you have questions on this, you can ask during the Q&A time. The federal and state government has been continuing to assist by extending deadlines and obviously trying to remove obstacles. One of those is the federal paid leave law. This President Trump signed. As most of you know, tax filings and payments have been extended at the federal level. And local, I don't want to say locally, but statewide, property tax payments have also been extended, which I know can help some of our small businesses that actually own their buildings or real estate. And on top of that, sales tax payments have once again been extended. So I would suggest, you know, on those, if you constantly check the IRS website, if you check the DEO website, state DEO website, or any other websites that, you know, obviously the EDC website or Ms. Rodriguez's website, there'll be additional information there that you can see. I think with that, it's probably getting close to time, guys, to answer some questions, if I'm not correct. Mike Bishop, you want to just start taking questions?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Moore. We have a number of questions coming in, so please feel free to continue to add into that. We do have some time here, so we'll try and get through as many as possible. So please go into that QA tab and enter in any questions that you may have. So I'll start with the first one here. Can you furlough employees and then bring them back with the PPP program? Also, how is forgiveness determined?
Yes, and I think that's one of the wonderful features of this program is it's not only keeping people at work, it's getting people back to work, but do it quickly. Bring them back quickly during this time period. Forgiveness is determined based on the number of employees you had at the beginning of the program period and at the end of the reporting period. For example, if that goes up, if you add employees, you get 100%. If you had 10 employees and now you have 9, then you're looking at 90%. I think there was a subsequent question that was similar that asked about how the payroll amount is determined, and it is a look back at your average payroll for the year. So for 2019.
Okay, great. Here's another question here. This attendee is asking, their goal was to hire 2 to 3 new employees this quarter, and then COVID-19 delayed that process. Would the PPP program apply to them so they can continue the hiring process? Again,
yes. I mean, very similar to bringing back other people, but hiring new people and expanding. You're trying to avoid laying off, and you can use those funds for wages. You can use it for other things. It just determines whether or not it's forgivable or not. But yes, you definitely want to, if you're looking to grow, you definitely want to make an appointment to talk to your banker and be smart about what you use that for, because you might have some other needs like machinery and things like that and personal property expenses.
Okay, great. This attendee is asking, he has 2 UK-based business partners and the company is registered as an LLC in Florida. The UK business partners own 75% and they own 25%. As managing director, he is listed as an employee and draws a salary with a W-2. What he's getting to is all applications through the SBA are asking for social security numbers and addresses are US format. How can my partners who are majority owners apply for programs?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Greg. At this point, if they are not in the United States, if they're actually outside of the U.S., they're not going to be able to apply now, because you're an owner. It says here that you have 25% of the business. You can apply under you, but the problem is that you still have 2 other owners, and they're going to have to sign on paperwork as well. So you're kind of in a tough situation. Again, if there's something else that comes up, you might want to kind of keep checking back and looking at the changes that are constantly being made. But at this point, that's what's going on.
Yeah, I'll add that this is probably the trickiest question I've seen yet on that, and that's unfortunate. It would not hurt to contact our federal elected officials as well to let them know that situation exists, because you yourself should be entitled to the same type of benefits because you are a Florida. You're registered in Florida, you're a Florida employee that's being impacted, but just the fact that you've got others that are not receiving their funds in Florida puts them in that situation. So again, I would encourage this to also be a contact to our local delegation for the federal government.
Okay, thanks, Eileen and Bill. Here's the next question. This business is using a payroll company, but is changing payroll companies in May. Will this cause any problems with the program?
So the answer is no. You should be able to show, my understanding is that you should be able to show your 2019 payroll and again, I'm assuming you're talking about maybe the state program. I don't know if you're talking about the PPP, but just show what you've got at this point. I mean, you're not changing, you haven't changed yet. So just show what payroll you currently have. Usually 2019 to date, or if you have a summary for 2020, that would work as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Eileen. Next question. Good morning, and thank you for clarification on PPP. Are companies who lease employees and pay 941 payroll taxes eligible for PPP? The payroll taxes are paid through a third party by a staffing service or leasing company.
I'm going through my paperwork to see if it addresses that particular situation. We may need to get back to you on that answer. I'm not I don't have an answer for you right at this moment.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was on mute. I'm inclined to say that it probably is similar to 1099s or contracted employment, but it's better to check, because if it's through a leasing company, the leasing company may have to be the applicant, since they're actually cutting the checks.
That's what I was thinking too. That's the hinging point right there.
And for the person that asked the question, the leasing company is, if in fact they would be the eligible recipient, they're probably already having this conversation too. So it's probably a good idea to talk to the leasing company as well too, because they're probably getting this from a number of their clients.
Great point.
Great. Thanks, Phil and Eileen. Next question. Can we apply for these loans as a proactive measure? We have not lost revenue yet. I do not want to take away money from someone who needs it, but I would like to have these loans because we know it will affect our company eventually.
I can tell you that for the state program, you have to actually show damages, and so economic damages. So that's not going to work. Although, kind of to expand on the answer to that, a lot of people have been asking me, well, I don't know how much I'm going to be losing because we're not through the crisis yet, which is a very valid point. So what we've been telling people is to show economic damage up till now, up till the point of application, and then project out maybe a couple of months, because we all know this is going to take a little bit longer. So maybe project out a couple of months and say, okay, so normally in the months of April and May, this is what my revenue looks like, and we're expecting it to be zero or close to zero. So, so no, you're going to have to actually show economic injury at this point.
Let me jump in real quick. This is Mike Moore. Hey, Bishop, let me just follow up with a question for Ms. Rodriguez too. So we have, I've talked to some folks out there that just started their businesses, after the new year. And it is kind of difficult to show additional loss that's made possibly in the beginning attached to COVID-19, because as we know, it's very difficult to pull a profit in your first couple months of business. How would that affect them applying for the SBA disaster loan?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'll be honest with you, I'm really not sure how they're going to be able to prove that the injury came from COVID, as opposed to, as you mentioned, Chairman, that, obviously in the first few months, businesses really don't make a lot of money. It's going to be, the burden's going to be on the business owner to really clearly outline why they think they've had injury specifically because of COVID. I'll give you an example. I have a client who just opened up a pub 6 weeks ago. So needless to say, his is very definitely due to COVID, because he was ordered to close his business. So in that case, he can clearly show that it was because of COVID. So again, everybody's situation is slightly different.
I'll add that, businesses, and this is the reality of small business, that many small businesses unfortunately fail regardless of a pandemic situation. So a lot of these programs usually require that somebody's got some experience and has to show that that loss, as Eileen mentioned. But if you've got a contract, for example, and your contract is canceled, that might be a way that you can show a loss. So if you're a new company, let's say you're an office cleaning company, well, that probably is doing good right now. But let's say you're a security company, for example, and there's no one, there's no business left because you're not providing security, but you had a contract and that contract ends up canceled. Even if you're a fairly new company, that contract could be used as a proof of lost revenue because the contract was canceled. But not having that rear view look of, here's my past experience and I can easily share my damages is going to be challenging for a lot of companies. One other potential solution, and you hate to plan for a downsizing or plan for a layoffs, but the other program I mentioned for the short-term compensation program from the state does require you to sit with or virtually sit with one of their specialists and work out a plan that says over the next 3 months or over the next 2 months or however long you're planning to slowly downsize your staff to this amount. So that is something that is eligible regardless of how long you've been in business. So that might be a way. I'd hate to suggest people plan to downsize their staff, but if you're going to do it, use this so that we can mitigate some of those costs and get some people paid in the process instead of doing it in one fell swoop.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll ask the next question. It's it's clarification on understanding if you can do both the EIDL and the PPP programs.
Yes.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, short and sweet. Next question. With a disaster loan, SBA disaster loan after application is submitted, what is the turnaround for approval?
Howard, that is a very good question. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you. I have no idea what the turnaround time is right now at the SBA. I will tell you that they are overwhelmed because, again, this is not just a Florida program, that's a national, a federal program. So they've had over 1 million inquiries and applications already on the EIDL loan. I would expect that their turnaround time is not going to be swift, but that's about as close as I can get it.
Thanks, Eileen. I know that's probably a big question in everybody's minds. So next question. We found the SBA Fed website doing $10,000 up front. It would not need to be paid back. This attendee is double checking if this is a legitimate claim.
Yes, that is a legitimate claim. And I'm actually shifting through some paperwork here to kind of read something to you, but yes, that is absolutely the case. So I could, if you go to the SBA link that I gave you, you could actually find the information there, or again, you can find it on my website. It's in the chat portion of this webinar. So hopefully you can see those windows, but the answer is yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question. This attendee is asking, what if your bank is not a preferred SBA lender? Can you inquire at a different bank?
And I think I clarified that in my statement earlier, saying that for the PPP program, you do not have to go specifically to an SBA lender because the SBA has basically deputized, if you will, all banks to be able to process PPP program loans. All FDIC insured banks, I should say, and institutions.
Okay. Next question. The attendee is a technology company wanting to expand to help their clients during this time and need a larger building. SBA prior didn't like lending for land and building. Are they relaxing these requirements for down payments so that we can expand quicker than expected?
I'm really not sure if they've made any changes to their normal loan programs. That's probably something that you would want to talk to your SBA lender about directly and see if they've been given any instructions regarding that. But at this point, I haven't heard of anything.
Mike, I'll add also, if we've got a company looking to expand, have them give us a call at the Pasco EDC, because if you're in one of our targeted industries and you're expanding and creating jobs, you may be eligible for some incentives that will offset some of that need on the cost for bricks and mortar.
Great, good point. Next attendee wants to thank Chairman Moore and County Commissioners for having a pro-business, demographic-specific approach to Pasco County versus a broad brush approach with regard to business closures and citizens' activities. Do you anticipate any possibility of changing that approach? We're hopeful to remain open through this time.
This is Mike Moore. I can speak on that now. Currently, everything changes daily, actually by minute. We are not anticipating any closures or stay at home for Pasco County itself at this time. Again, I will, disclaimer, things do change on an hourly and daily basis. But again, at this time, as of today, right now, we are not anticipating that. But again, I will, one more time, disclaimer, it doesn't mean something that couldn't come down in the future. You saw that the governor did do a stay-at-home orders in South Florida a few days ago. I can't tell you if that's going to be extended up to our area or not, but so it's unfortunately kind of a wait-and-see game for all of us right now on that side with the state and the feds. But thank you for your question, your comments.
Thank you, Chairman Moore. Appreciate it. Next question, to qualify for the PPP, would your qualification be affected if you reduce your employee salaries by 50%?
I mean, that's a good reason to apply for the PPP if that's the question, yes. And again, you can take that and complement it with the state program I mentioned earlier with the short-term compensation. But if you're having to cut wages or lay off, I mean, you're showing an economic loss, is my assumption, and that's the reason why you have to cut. So yes.
Okay, thanks, Bill. This next question, I believe this was already covered in regards to 1099 contractors as well as employees. Can 1099 contractors be paid with PPP funds, or is it just salaries and wages?
Yes, that's one of the really cool benefits of it is that that 1099s can be included in this as well.
Okay, I'm just funneling to the next question here.
Some great questions, by the way.
What agency should I direct my leasing employee to? Thank you all for your time. How can we obtain a recording? Okay, I can handle that part. So agency should direct leasing employee. Not entirely sure on that question.
So I think the question is if the leasing companies are required to apply instead of the company directly, what does he or she tell that employee or that leased employee how that's going to be handled? I would say don't tell them anything until we figured out whether or not you're eligible directly for it, or if the leasing company is eligible. And I think there was also a couple questions about leasing companies in general being larger than 500 employees, because most of them are pretty large. I mentioned early on there are some categories of employment beyond 500 that are eligible according to the SBA. So it's not a hard and fast rule that it's 500 and below. For most of us on this call, it is, but for some types of businesses, they do allow for more than 500 employees.
Okay, great. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. And then we've answered a vast majority of the questions here. Thank you everybody for participating, putting questions in. Thank you for the panelists, Chairman Moore for putting this on and hosting. Bill and Eileen, thank you very much. Please make sure to double check all those websites that were sent out for any further resources and anything that that you needed going forward. And with that, I'll hand it off to Chairman Moore.
Thanks, Mike Bishop. And I want to thank you, obviously, for helping to put this together, Mike, and Bill Cronin and Eileen. Thank you so much for everything you're doing at the Florida Small Business Development Center and obviously our Pasco EDC. I mean, as we know, things are just moving fast. Things can be updated, obviously, by minute. So continue to check the websites that they provided. Check them often if you can. And I also want to, our small business community, thank you all so much for everything that you're doing. You will continue to be the heartbeat of our community in Pasco County. And, my heart goes out to each and every one of you. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together. I'm confident we all will. And please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us in the near future, today, tomorrow, or 6 months down the road. We're there for you. We want to see you all get out of this. We want to see you succeed. We want to see everybody working. And with that, again, thoughts and you're in our thoughts and prayers. So thank you all. And with that, we'll close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.